Hello, everybody. This is Monday, September 28th, 2015. This is Radio Tokyo, and I am, of course, your host, Jonathan. Now, I want to talk about something that's really important. Um, Gotham's coming on tonight, so, oh, no, wait, no. The season finale of Rick and Morty is next week, and no, wait, no, hang on a minute. Yeah, the world supposedly ended yesterday because there was a blood moon. Now, I don't know about any of you. I'm still here. Sorry, Doomsday cultist, you seem to be wrong. But no, really, all those fascinating things are fascinating, and I could talk about them. In fact, I may just shift all that to Wednesday's show. I don't know, haven't decided yet. But I do want to talk about something that happened this morning. Um, for those of you who may or may not be unaware, there has been confirmation that there is flowing water on the surface of Mars. It is seasonal, meaning, during specific seasons on the planet, which, by the way, Mars has really only got two. Well, you can divide it up into four if you want to, like we have on Earth. But for the purpose of making this as simple as I can, it's going to be two seasons, okay? So summer and winter, okay? The planet has about a 24-degree difference in its tilt around the sun when it orbits, and that tilt determines, basically all the seasons, like it does here on Earth. And it's the reason why, if it's winter in the northern hemisphere on Earth, it's summer in the southern, and vice versa. Mars has got basically the same thing going on for it. So what they discovered was there were these large dark colored streaks that were coming down from the edges of craters and on some of the taller, mountain ranges and stuff on the surface of Mars. And they were only there, during essentially the summer. And they're large. They're not, little tiny things that we're thinking of. They were described in a press conference this morning as, some of them being, 10 to 15 meters across and hundreds of meters long. A meter essentially is 3 feet, so you're looking at 30 35 feet or so wide and several hundred feet long. Um, they're huge, okay, and what they are, and excuse me, sorry about that. What they are uh, wasn't known for the longest time, but they were observed directly starting around 2011, so about 4 years ago or so. Uh, they were studied more and more and more, and there was spectrographic analysis done of them, just to see uh, the way the light would bounce off of them, and that's how typically, okay, the way things like the Hubble Space Telescope and the Kepler Observatory and stuff work is light refraction. Uh, the farther away something is, the more redder it tends to be and whatnot. But we know, with the chemical composition of what the surface of Mars is, we can kind of tell what's there. And there's been things, obviously iron's been observed there. There's been chemical salts and stuff observed there. Well, they noticed this, and like I said, it would darken and it would come back. And they did several flybys with orbital observers and were able to make 3D projections so they can see what it is. They can see it's essentially retreating or drying up. And what they did with all of this combined was they figured out that it's actually water. It's flowing water on the surface of Mars. Now, I'm going to read you directly what their announcement says. Using an imaging spectrometer, or MRO, researchers detected signatures of hydrated minerals on slopes where mysterious streaks were seen on the red planet. These darkest streaks appear to ebb and flow over time. They darken and appear to flow down steep slopes during warm seasons, and then fade in cooler seasons. They appear in several locations on Mars when temperatures are above -10 degrees Fahrenheit or -23 Celsius and disappear at colder times. These downhill flows, known as recurring slope lineae or RSL, often have been described as possibly related to liquid water. The new findings of hydrated salts on the slopes point to what that relationship may be to these dark features. The hydrated salts would lower the freezing point of a liquid brine, just as salts on roads here on Earth cause ice and snow to melt more rapidly. Scientists say it's likely a shallow subsurface flow with enough water wicking to the surface to explain the darkening. Essentially, what that's saying is it's flowing downhill, of course, but only during certain weather conditions, and it's not like water on Earth. It's a excuse me, sorry about that. It's a very, 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 very salty water. Um, it's a perchlorate brine. Now, what perchlorate is a chemical composition of salt. It's not, something like you would want to drink or consume. You can, but probably wouldn't want to. And what they think is going on is that the water, whether it's in the atmosphere of Mars itself, which they know, from examining the atmosphere, they know there is water there. It's not a whole bunch. It's it was described as being up on top of uh, Mount Everest, and the atmosphere up there is so thin, there's, water and snow, and they have observed snow falling on the planet. So they know, there is something there that's able to accumulate and, come down. But it's not enough to be, like solid rain or stuff like we hear after on Earth, because there's just not enough water there. And they're not sure exactly at what point in time all the water disappeared, but all the evidence seemed to show it being around 3 billion years ago. Now keep in mind, Earth is about 4.5 billion years old, according to science. So somewhere around the time that Earth was becoming newly formed, Mars, according to the information that was printed today, Mars had an ocean that was probably 2/3 of the northern hemisphere. It covered, it was seawater, and they think it was up to a mile deep. Now, whether this meant that there was uh, anything else there, we don't know. But there are certain chemicals in the soil that we know, that people understand means that life has been there, whether it's microbial or not. Now, they did confirm that yes, in a way, there is life on Mars. Now, it's not, distinctly Martian. With the Viking landers and Curiosity and everything else we've sent to Mars, there has been a great amount of detail paid to making sure that they're completely sterilized, so that we're not sending any uh, Earth-based, bacteria or anything to the planet. But they know for a fact that there's no way that they got all of it. It's almost impossible, and that's based on the fact that there are certain microbes and bacteria and stuff on Earth that are really hard to kill. So, with that very high possibility, yes, there's life on Mars, but it's not. Uh, it's stuff that's been sent there accidentally by us. Don't you know get crazy about this. But they're not certain, exactly what caused all the water to go away. But yes, there is actually water on Mars. It's very, very, very salty, and it flows uh, in seasonal bursts. And that's honestly, that is probably the greatest scientific finding, arguably, of anyone's lifetime that's alive right now, other than, those who were alive to see this land on the moon and stuff like that. it's really hard to beat the fact that we've answered a question that people have wanted to know about since Mars was first, since the streaks on Mars, the canals on Mars, what they were called for so long, since it's been so long since that was discovered. Now, the reason I'm saying it's that important is because, yes, for a long time, people have thought that there had to have been a society on Mars. If you read Robert A. Heinlein's Red Planet, he even addresses that. Now, that book was written back in the 1950s, but it goes back even, well, 40s or 50s, but it goes back even further than that. Like I said, it goes back to the Victorian era when they discovered, these uh, what looked like canals on the surface of Mars. Just observing with uh, everyday telescopes, and that's what led to the novel War of the Worlds, of course, and everything else. But the concern is now, we know there was water there. So this idea that was observed with underpowered telescopes, there being canals there, and people thinking, well, maybe there's water there, maybe there's life there. We're dangerously close to proving that. Okay? Dangerously close to proving that there may have been life on Mars. And with the possibility of there being life on Mars, that means there may be life elsewhere. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is because today I was actually going to do an episode uh, that kind of echoed what we talked about on our Friday show, where I very publicly admitted that I'm an atheist. Now, I don't normally talk about it. Sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. But I think it was important to mention it today because, uh, honestly, I've been looking in the Bible and I can't find anything that addresses the possibility that life is elsewhere. Um, Today kind of confirmed what I've felt for a very long time is that, we may essentially be alone because the universe is so large and it's so difficult to, uh, one, travel through, two, to communicate to, and three, to even see everything directly. Uh, but the fact is that, you know, there didn't seem to be anything else there, like I said. But going by what the Bible has to say, just and keep in mind that I'm specifically addressing Christianity because I live in the United States and because I live in what's called the Bible Belt here. But Genesis 1:1 says that God created Earth and everything on it, and then the fourth day or so was when the sun, moon, and stars were created. So everything was here first. The Earth is supposed to be essentially the center stage of God's creation. Okay, and the Bible also indicates through 2 Peter 3:9 through 10, Second Peter 3:7 and 10, and Revelation 21:1 that everything will be destroyed when Earth is destroyed. Okay, there's also the creationist theory that says that, and when I say theory, I mean more hypothesis, not exactly scientific theory here, uh, but going on the generations of the Bible and everything, they know, or there's been a claim uh, of how old Earth is. Now, individuals like Josh Firestein happen to say that the Earth is probably 10,000 years old. I actually have a sister who thinks it's about 10,000 years old. Okay, no matter what evidence you present people who feel this way, this is what's there because this is what they can read that's in a book that was written 5,000 years ago. Okay? So, today essentially made me realize I'm right. Um, it's actually scary. Uh, Now, is there life elsewhere? I don't know. And I'm sure hopefully within my lifetime we'll find out, that there is more life somewhere, or there's evidence that it was there at one point in time. But today kind of nailed down the fact for me that, yeah, evolution happened. here on Earth. Uh, we came from somewhere, and I certainly don't think it was God. And there's, like I said, there's water elsewhere, and water is important for life. And if there's evidence of life elsewhere that essentially shows, like I said, the creation mythology of most religions as being wrong. Now, there is a chance that other religions are actually right, and it's cool that they are. The ancient Egyptians, believed uh, that they were the product of the seed of a god who had masturbated, and it spread throughout the heavens. Um, the ancient Japanese re- beliefs were that a god and goddess descended from heaven and thrust their spear into the water, and the mud that dripped off of the edge of the blade, formed everything. All these myths that we've looked at for years and years and years, that have been with humanity for, I mean, thousands of years now at this point. Uh, there's different versions of them. And honestly, I think if you're a Christian or a Muslim or Jew, uh, whatever you want to be, you might want to look at that and look at what's being said. Like look at what's being discovered. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because I'm an agnostic atheist. Uh, Atheism is, of course, being without belief. Agnosticism is being without knowledge. The more I learn, the more my mind, in my opinion, will sway. But I'm firmly in the belief that we were not created by a god or multiple gods. But I don't know. I can't prove that. The evidence does seem to show we evolved. It does seem to show that there might possibly have been life on Mars. Whether now, of course, 4 billion years ago, when Earth was brand new, the life that was here was microbial. It was, bacteria and stuff like that. And of course, there was water. It was very salty water, and we know that because we can kind of regress, through time and find out, like through layers of the soil and everything. So we know what was here. We know what it was like, and that means that Mars at one point in time was very much like Earth. And I just don't see, anything in any religious text that I've studied in my life as saying, you know, that there's proof that whatever religious deity created us made something else. It doesn't seem to say that. It seems to say that we're alone. Now I feel that we're alone for right now, but I also feel that, like I said, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of rambling. But I'm pulling this from a very deep in. It's a spot deep inside my heart, I guess, if you want to put it that way. I it's a topic I don't talk about a lot, so excuse me for that. But uh, I I feel a very deep connection to the universe, particularly on days like this. It's like, hey, all these things that you thought for so long are possibly true, and I imagine this is probably how someone who is religious would feel, if there was proof of something that they believe was real. But anyway, but before I, get way off into this, thank you for listening. Sorry I rambled. Sorry I was boring. Like I said, thank you for listening. Please remember to like this video. Please remember to share it. Subscribe to the channel on here. Like us on Facebook. Tell Nick how much you hate him. And tell Danny that she needs to come back because she's still kidnapped and she hasn't been rescued yet, apparently. Uh, but the Wednesday show's coming up. I promise, I'll talk about something that's more uh, typical in the show. Friday show this week, of course. So look forward to that. And as I said, Gotham tonight. Uh, Big Bang is tonight. Uh, gee, there's a lot of stuff that comes on this week, But the season finale of Rick and Morty is next Sunday, and it looks to be awesome because last night's was freaking amazing. But I'll talk more about that on the Wednesday show. Again, thanks for listening. Talk to all of you soon. Have a great night, everybody. Bye bye.